Jadan Horyn. Hey, Jaden's like a regular on the show now. We love this guy, man, from Liberty University. His energy is great. He's communications director for Reclaim New York, a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing a statewide grassroots conversation about the future of New York. Jaden, good to see you, my brother.
Absolutely.
Look
Glad
at
to
you,
be
man.
on.
You're always like a big guy, man. Look, I'm talking about working out, and I met the boss of Salem Media, Ed Atzinger, you know. This guy smoked me. I said we had lunch with him yesterday. He's doing pull-ups. He does pull-ups. I don't know that I could do one pull-up. You know, where you just grab yourself a pull. Are you a pull-up guy? You're a weight guy, right?
I'm a weight guy.
Yeah.
I was a swimmer, so I hurt my shoulder. So I gotta be careful with.
We all did.
Oh yeah.
What is it? Is it the rotator cuff?
Yeah.
What is with that? I thought it was my bicep because I was doing, and I could feel it. I went to the doc, Dr. Wayne, and he goes, no, that's your shoulder, man. So now
Repetitive motion.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, you know, like how people get runner's knees, they get tennis elbow.
Yes,
it's swimmer shoulder.
Yeah. And I guess you're a young guy, but I guess I've been banging it a long time. So I guess it's only a matter of time. But he said to take those elastic bands and do that lateral motion where you just move it. So you got all right. I got to do it because Mr. Atzinger told me that, and I went, "Oh my gosh, I have not been doing that. I go right to push-ups. That's probably
and you got to stretch.
You
got to stretch.
You know it, man.
Definitely got to stretch.
I know. Hey, did you see? I want to get into the overtime situation with the MTA, but I have to start here. You see Mayor de Blasio with the Green New Deal thing, man?
Oh my gosh.
So much, you know, and the congestion pricing that you are. Thank God you're on top of this because this will go away. They will keep congestion pricing in Albany and in City Hall. They'll keep banging these middle class drivers, many of whom are listening to us right now. And they'll just keep adding on these things. Then it goes away. They just completely unless you stay on it, man.
Absolutely. Let's think about this, right? Like we know that congestion pricing is connected to MTA, and what happened, right? Yeah. We had this MTA overtime scandal. It's a scandal, but it took them. This report came out 3 weeks ago. It took them after the report came out, at least 10 days. To notice it.
Wow.
To realize that it was a crisis proportions.
Well, tell us about the report and then we'll get into exactly how we could solve this crisis within the MTA. What exactly happened?
All right. So right now, what we know from the report is that they have spent $481 million more than last year's budget on personnel, to the tune of $1.3 billion. And just to put that in perspective, the entire congestion pricing scheme that the governor came up with, the governor who's the head of MTA came up with.
Scheme is the word.
Scheme is projected to bring in $1.3 billion a year. Okay? Now, this overtime scandal specifically targets Long Island Railroad. However, there's also New York Transit Agency, aka the subways, and Metro North. Mm-hmm. The fare increase for Long Island Railroad is less than the amount that they paid in Long Island Railroad overtime. In other words, the entire fare increase was eaten by overtime.
Wow.
But you know what? I don't blame the workers.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Yeah. I talked to an MTA whistleblower, and this is what they told me.
Yeah.
Look, management says we need you to work this overtime. Management says they will look the other way at your overtime. Management says if you're behind the wheel of a bus 90 hours a week. Now you think about that. The safety of the people around you, the safety of those passengers. 90 hours a week, we're going to look the other way. We're going to sign off because guess what? It's part of your union contract.
Yeah.
And no matter what, we need to make sure that we keep getting the stream of money. So we're not going to question this.
Yeah. You know, though, let me just go here before we come up with a solution of it, because I remember when I was on the garbage truck many years ago, and then I would always like the overtime. Man, I went for that overtime because I wanted to it was great money. It was great money, and I just added on. So the workers, you can't really blame them because they are needed is the answer. So you're right not to blame the workers, I think, but is the answer to hire more workers?
Well, let's look at this, right? So we know that the buck stops with the governor. In 2014, he renegotiated all of these union contracts. Most of these workers' base salary is $55,000, which is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, their overtime rates are exorbitant. We have someone making $300,000 in overtime. That's ridiculous and probably impossible. But I would bet a guess that the overwhelming majority of these workers are not cheating the system, which means it's perverse incentives set up by management, terrible negotiation done by the union on behalf of their workers that favor seniority, that favor the workers at the very, very top, and screw all the other workers. So yes, in short, the answer is we definitely need more transit workers, but they need to know that their entry-level salary is something that they could make a living on and not have to work 90 hours a week in order to make it work. That is a perverse incentive, and the governor is responsible for that.
Very well said. Give the workers a raise so they don't feel like, because if you're making the money, you're not going to go for the overtime. That's right. And now the overtime strike. Tell us about that the other day. Were workers really refusing to work overtime?
Well, supposedly they were.
Yeah.
But it appears, as the publicist for the Long Island Railroad said, we could not notice a net effect, whatever that means. In other words, the work slowdown or the strike that the workers did apparently was not effectual. And whatever we want to say about that, I will say this: the governor, the MTA board, has shown time and again, they cannot manage this agency. And we just steered $1.3 billion to them per year with congestion pricing. Do we really believe that they're going to do it right the next time? Because they're not doing it right now.
Right. Amen. Can't we just privatize this whole thing? Can you just privatize it, bring a big businessman in, like I was talking about John Catsimatidis, with NYCHA, the NYCHA problem that is run by the federal government? Can you privatize all these things or do what they call a P3, public-private partnership in this regard?
I mean, I would imagine that because of the nature of the New York City subway and MTA, to unwind that legally,
no one's going to touch it. the private sector, man. I ain't going near there, right?
But I mean, I certainly think that if there was some competition brought in or some transparency brought in so we could actually see what they're doing and accountability, then we could get to the point where we could trust this agency because we can't trust them now.
What do other states do, Jaden? What do other states do in regard to all this expense for for the MTA and other states? What's happening in Philadelphia, in the North, in Boston? What do they do? Are they in the same problem?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. So I'm originally from Pennsylvania. SEPTA is a byword for corruption in PA.
Same thing's happening there.
Same thing. I'm from Washington.
Let me guess. The Democrats are running all these cities too, right? Let me just take a shot.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna take shot politics, absolutely. Look, any times you have single party control without competition, without new ideas, and without accountability, you are going to have corruption. That is the nature of politics. That is the nature of people. From Washington too. Look, in the Metropolitan Transit Authority down there in Washington D.C., the Washington Metro system was the most vaunted in the country, and then they lied about doing maintenance, and people died. People died. Yeah, because they lied about doing maintenance, because perverse incentives existed for them to lie about doing maintenance. So look, this is happening all across transit agencies all across the country, which is why the United States has some of the worst transit in the developed world. And it's not because we don't have the money to do it. It's not because we don't have the talent. Yeah. It's because we have corruption, and it's because we have government entities that don't have accountability, and there's no party competition that comes in and says, hey, there's a better way to do this, because most of these jurisdictions are uniformly run by one political party, and you're absolutely right.
All right, Jaden Horyn right there, fired up early in the morning. I love this.
Always.
What time you get up? 5 o'clock?
I get up at 5.
What do you go run like 10 miles? One of those guys?
I try, except my foot right now.
No, it'll heal. Jaden Horyn right there, communications director for Reclaim New York. Again, it's a nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing a statewide grassroots conversation about the future of New York. You're a smart young guy, Jaden. You're welcome here anytime, my brother.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Debbie DeHame's out there.